Okay, so we are getting to a new section on global infrastructure in AWS. So why would you make a global application? Well, a global application is an application that will be deployed in multiple geographies. And when you translate this onto AWS, that could mean that you deploy your application onto different AWS regions or edge locations. What this gives you is that for users around the world, they will have decreased latency. So latency is the time it takes for a network packet to reach a server. And so if you consider that the Earth is big, it will take a lot of time a lot, quote unquote, lot. It would take more time for a packet from Asia to reach the US. So if you have a user in India, for example, and your servers in the US, they will have more lag. It will be having more latency. But if you deploy your application closer to users, they will have a better experience. So if we deploy our application in the US and in Asia, then both our users in the US and both our users in Asia will have a better latency because it will be fast to reach your application servers. So that would be the first reason. The second reason would be to have a disaster recovery plan. So the idea is that you don't want to rely on only one data center or one region. For example, if an entire region goes down, this has never happened, but it may happen someday, because of an earthquake, a storm, a power shutdown, politics, whatever, then by having a disaster recovery strategy in place, you can fail over to another region and your application will still be working. So having a DR plan, a disaster recovery plan, is super important to increase the availability of your application. Finally, the last reason why you would have a global application is in case you are under attack. So it is common for hackers online to attack your application, to try to take it down for various reasons. And so if you have your application across multiple regions and distributed globally, then it's going to be much harder for an attacker to attack all these locations at once. And so you are more protected against these attacks. Now on AWS, you have this really cool website that I will show you in a second, which shows you all the regions, availability zones, and so on. And so this will show you the regions. This is where we are deploying our applications and infrastructure. And the regions, as we know, they're made of multiple availability zones. They are made themselves of multiple data centers. And then we have edge locations. We haven't seen them yet, but they're called also points of presence. And they're used for content delivery to be as close as possible to your users. And then let's have a look at this website right now to see how it works. So this website shows you a map of the world, and if you click on it, you're able to look around the globe and see where AWS has some presence. So every orange box is going to be a region. As you can see, you have regions all around the world, but not everywhere. And right now, if you click on regions, you will see where they are and how they are structured and so on. And so, for example, for Europe, you have region in Spain, London, Ireland, Paris, Frankfurt, Milan, and Stockholm. Then it is talking about availability zones. So if we look at, for example, a region like Northern Virginia, this is the region right here, but we have 6 blue points. So we have 6 AZ in the Northern Virginia region. But if we look, for example, at Europe and we look at the Paris region, we can see we have 3 blue dots around it. So there are 3 availability zones. So these AZ are, as you can see, they are distant from one another because in case something happens, for example, north of Paris, then the AZ south of Paris should not be affected. But still, these AZ are linked by some very, very fast network. So these are the AZ, and we can see every region has multiple AZ. And then you have points of presence. So these are the pink dots in this map, and they are for content delivery network. So you cannot deploy an application there, but something like CloudFront will be using it, and we'll look at CloudFront in this section. So as we can see, if we look at California, we have the pink dots right here all around the US, so that even your users that are close to the Mexico border or even are in Mexico get some fast connection to AWS, okay? And finally, obviously the network. So these are the actual links between all the regions and all the AZs and all the points of presence. And the network is really, really stable. This is actually a network from AWS, so all this is private. So AWS went above and beyond and actually installed cables under the water to link, for example, between Europe and the US, or to link between Europe and Africa and so on. So this is a really cool map. I really like it. But as you can see, the extent of the network is huge, and this is a private network which helps AWS have some fast and reliable connection between all their different zones and regions. So that's it. That's what I want to share with this website. Have a look. I think it's really cool to get an idea of how the cloud really can help you have a global presence. So to summarize on AWS, for the global DNS, we're going to learn about Route 53. It is going to help us route the users to the closest deployment with the least latency, and it's going to be great for disaster recovery strategies. Then for Global Content Delivery Network, a CDN will be using CloudFront, and it's going to be able to replicate part of our applications into these edge locations to again decrease the latency for our users and also cache the common request to give an improved user experience and a decreased latency. Then we'll see about S3 transfer acceleration to accelerate global uploads and downloads into Amazon S3. And finally, the AWS Global Accelerator, which is going to improve the global application availability and performance using the AWS Global Network. So we have a busy section. I hope you're excited, and I will see you in the next lecture.